my friend, and welcome back. My name is Hannah, and today I have some final thoughts and opinions for you. I realize I'm actually pretty terrible at giving you guys my monthly roundup, or what I like to call my final thoughts and opinions of some of the items that I've been testing out throughout the month. And I want to change that. But if you're curious about anything that I talk about in today's video, what I'm wearing on my face, what I'm doing in other pockets of the internet, I always have links in the description box down below. None of my links are affiliated or sponsored because I haven't made it that big on the internet yet. But once I do, believe me, you would be the first to know, because that means I would be someone big on the internet. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to call this video or this series. Maybe final thoughts and opinions is already the title. We'll just run with that. I just want to preface this video by saying I'm pretty good about doing product research. I don't typically just buy from brands that I either don't know anything about or just, on a whim. I don't really have the tax bracket to be spending money that way. And when a new product comes out, I kind of know what words and descriptions and things to kind of look for to know if that product is going to work for me. And obviously when you try something from a brand, you can take that experience with you, but also the influencers that I personally watch, they either like a lot of the same products I do, have a similar skin situation as myself, or are just a little bit more knowledgeable in some of the makeup effects that I would like to try or like to, accomplish or learn, whatever. So I take a lot with me when doing product research. So that being said, let's start with this first collection because this was my first time trying anything from Kiko Milano, but I did pick up 2 items from their spring collection, and I did get the floral bronzer and the hydrating and long-lasting blurring effect foundation. This is a powdered foundation and this is just a powdered blush. I did say in my first impressions video that there are only 2 shades, and I feel like the shade that I have currently might be just slightly too light for me. It is getting warmer in the area that I'm living in. I wouldn't be surprised if summer was at my front door like next week. So I'm already starting to see the effects of a little bit more sunshine and a little bit more warmth kind of having its effect on my skin, and so far it hasn't really changed how this bronzer looks on my skin. I actually have it on today. I usually go in with a, what's it called? I think it's a Sigma F34, 35. It's like the soft blur, and it picks up so nicely on the brush and you can just sweep it on. It's not a true matte bronzer, but it's not super dewy either. It's just like the perfect kind of satin formula. And that brings us into the foundation. So the foundation I thought was also going to be a satin matte kind of formula similar to the bronzer, but it is actually more of like a dewy kind of foundation. I don't hate it, but I typically don't go for a dewy finish all that often. My favorite kind of finish is a more satin kind of finish. And I thought that maybe the primer I was using underneath was like just too hydrating and it just made my face really greasy, but it's actually just the powder foundation, and it doesn't really say anything about it being dewy. All the product description makes it sound like it's a satin finish, so I just want to stress it is a bit more dewy than it is satin. The shade description is still abysmal. Both of these items are available at Ulta, I think, as well as the setting powder, and I've been really flirting with the idea of getting the setting powder. I just don't know if it's going to be the satin finish that I would really enjoy it to be, or if it's going to be more of a dewy finish. I wish it was more like the bronzer than it would be the foundation, but as a translucent setting powder, it could be one of 2 ways, right? I guess I will just have to read the reviews on that one, but I really enjoyed these products so far. That bronzer I've been reaching for every day since I got it, and not because I made that like my mission or my goal, it's just happened naturally. It's that good of a bronzer. And the powder foundation I use more on days where I can just kind of sit down and get away with working in a powder foundation. I have a particular process with it, but it is very, very pretty. I will probably enjoy it now that it is a bit warmer out and I don't really want like cream product on my face. And I don't think anyone is surprised at all that I had purchased the Hella palette from Odin's Eye and Angelica Nieves, and I don't think anyone is surprised for me to highly recommend this palette. It is such a pretty pink and green palette. I have been reaching for this palette every day since I've purchased it. I've been doing really grungy green looks. I've been doing really cute flirty pink looks and kind of playing in between to do some like kind of pink green hybrid kind of look. And I've really enjoyed the palette. I think Odin's Eye has a really great formula when it comes to shadows. It's my kind of preferred formula where it's just really creamy and it's very blendable and buildable, and I really enjoy it. So if you've been really thinking about this palette, I would say just pull the trigger and just go purchase it. There are a lot of pink and green palettes coming out right now, and I don't know if that's because that's the trend because it's spring, or if that's the trend because of fashion, or like this palette was just so good everyone else just wanted to have a pink and green palette. But I can vouch for the Odin's Eye formula, I can vouch for this palette, I can vouch for Angie's like color combination skills. I think this one is of the better pink and green palettes that I've seen this season. And then the last thing I have to talk about is the Smoky Nostalgia collection from Glaze. I did purchase the entire PR set and I have some thoughts and opinions. First, let's start with the eyeshadow palettes. There is a black one called the Jasmine Palette, and it's just like got this really nice black matte and some grays. And then there is the Cold Brew palette, which is just the brown version of the Jasmine palette. It's up to you if you need both of these quads, but I don't think that there's a difference in formula. I think they both perform exactly the same. I will pair the Cold Brew palette with my Natasha Denona Retro palette, and I really enjoy it. I've been kind of trying to recreate some like very iconic Pamela Anderson looks using the Jasmine palette. They're both really great palettes. I think the black matte in the Jasmine palette is like really buttery and rich. And there is a black matte in the Sci-Fi Green palette from Glaze. It's no longer available, but that's my favorite black matte of all time. Anytime I needed it to deepen a shade or kind of do like a eyeshadow eyeliner kind of thing, that would be the black that I reach for. The black in the Jasmine palette is richer and more buttery and a bit more pigmented than the black in the Sci-Fi Green palette. But I do have a little bit more fallout with the one in the Jasmine palette than I did the one in the Sci-Fi Green palette. Not that it really matters because it's not like the Sci-Fi Green is available. I'm just saying for those of you who maybe have the Sci-Fi Green palette and you love that black matte, you're not buying the exact same black matte, but I think that they perform very similarly. Again, the one in the Sci-Fi Green is just a little bit drier than the one in this Jasmine palette. And let's talk about the blushes, because there's quite a number of blushes, and I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to give like a proper review, because I kind of stick to the same shades of blushes. Like the ones here on my vanity is like this orange one, and then this really pretty nude one. But because I've been doing really like colorful eye looks, I tend to go for a more neutral kind of blush, and for me, these are my neutrals. But there is a bright red blush, there is a bright pink blush, there's like a mid-tone pink, and they're all really pretty. My only upset with these blushes is that they are more of a true matte, so it's more of a preference over performance kind of thing. My favorite blushes are the Super Shock blushes from ColourPop, the Duo blushes from Melt, and the cream blushes from Melt. Those are my absolute favorite. I like more of like a wet looking kind of blush, not necessarily like dewy, but kind of more of like a, again, satin kind of finish. Is that what I'm trying to say? I just like more of a wet looking cheek. And I am wearing this blush with the bronzer that I mentioned in today's video, and like it looks really pretty, but I did top it with one of my Unearthly Cosmetic highlighters to kind of give it more of like the wet look that I like to go for. But I think these are really pretty. They're very buttery in the pan, similar to the eyeshadow formula, but I don't think that they're exactly the same. It's the same kind of buttery consistency that is just really nice. My take on these blushes is the same as my take on luxury lipsticks. I don't think you need every shade. I don't think having every shade in your collection is going to add anything, but I think if your favorite shade is included in this lineup, I would say go for it and reach for it. I love an orange blush, and I really enjoy this one. It's really nice, and it's a different formula from other orange blushes that I have in my collection. And then let's talk about the lip glaze, because I absolutely love the lip clay formula. I have at least one set from the other two collections, and I love that you can buy them individually so you don't have to buy the entire collection, because even though I love this formula, I don't know if you really need every single shade, but again, that's up to you, however you go through lip products. The one that I reach for the most in this collection is Skinship, because it is my perfect nude and it's such a pretty color. Again, really love the formula. It applies really moussey and airy-like, but it looks really bold and lasts all day. The other three shades in my set I think are just shades that I personally would reach for when we live more in like the dark times where, like, you know, the sun disappears at like 4 in the afternoon, you know, like my favorite time of the year. And those are all the items that I really have to talk about. I know that today's video is fairly short. I didn't really have too much to talk about. I believe at the end of the next month, that will be all of my stuff from the Sephora sale and my Gemini palettes. So if you're looking for those reviews, those are coming next month. But let me know in the comments down below, did you get anything else from the Kiko Spring collection? What is your favorite shade from the Hella palette? Because I think mine is Soot. Were you also waiting for me to say that Claydos didn't have the name of the products on the packaging? Because I feel like that's what everyone says in all of the reviews. And if you enjoyed hanging out with me today, make sure that you like this video and subscribe down below so you don't miss out. I am trying to post more regularly throughout the week. I think I'm going to keep it at 3 videos, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll see. I feel pretty hopeful about that kind of schedule. But let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.